So for step 3, attaching the motor. So for this step, we're going to need to grab the motor, obviously, but we're also going to need to grab the pinion gear. And then you can see that there's these two pieces that are actually going to be for the suspension, which have to be slipped onto the two sides of the gearbox. And then we've got this end cap, which will attach to the motor. Now you're going to see here that the pinion gear is in MD. And for MD, it's actually in this bag here, which is had all of your shock pieces, and then it's in another bag that looks like that. So the pinion was inside of there. And then of course these ones, as you can see, bag A, bag C, and there we go. Those are all the parts that we need. So those are the two pieces that go on either side of the gearbox, and then of course there's this one here. So you can see through this D2 you're looking for parts tree D, and this one you're looking for parts tree B. So I'll just set this up and let's put this together. So for this step, I want to put these bits on first. And one of the reasons being is once you put the motor onto the gearbox, this is going to become very heavy. So might as well get this done first. It'll be easier for you to grab the gearbox too, because the motor isn't going to be in the way. So if we start on this side, you can see that if you look at the diagram, there's a little notch. And you can see on here, there's a little notch. And then that part here needs to slide and match onto the part that's got a hole in it, which you can see on here. There's the hole. So when you're sliding this on, all of those holes in this piece right here are going to go over to line up with that. So you can see that it's even with not attaching it, it's in there in the right place, because all the holes are lining up with all of these what do you call them? Grooves, marks, lines coming off of the gearbox, and it makes it a firm fit. So when we grab our screw, and it's those BA2 tapping screws, we can screw this in now. Yeah, do a little more. There we go. So there's one side. So that is in line, because that's what the suspension is going to attach to, like with the shocks. So same again on the other side. We know that that has to match up with there. So now they look the same positioning. And now we're going to grab that BA2 screw again and put it in. And we're going to screw that in. And there we go. So those two pieces are in and ready to go. So that was a lot easier doing it that way without the motor. So again, I'd suggest doing that first. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get the pinion onto the motor and set it up at the right distance. So first off, we need to get this rubber piece off of the motor. And I just grab a pair of pliers and pull. That is the easiest way to get that off. So there we go. And then we're going to grab our pinion gear. And you can see there's going to be a flat spot on there on the motor itself. And it's worth noting because where is it there? There's the flat spot, because that's what you're going to need to want to screw the pinion gear onto, because that's what's going to end up making it nice and firm. So you've got to be able to get it onto there. But I'm going to show you a bit of a trick here to line it up. So in this bag, you're going to see your Allen key. So if you find the bag that's got all the body clips, the Allen key is going to be in there. We're going to grab our little grub screw. And before I even try to put it on the motor, I'm going to screw it into the pinion gear. So it's in, you can see, and I might even screw it in just a touch more. And I just want to be able to see it going in, but not, yeah, that'll be too far, but that's okay. So what I want to be able to do is make sure that this isn't just going to keep spinning around. So if you grab that flat side and you slide that on, what I want to do is just turn it enough that it stays on the flat. So you see how it's still moving. If I back it off a bit, you can see that I can use the pinion gear to move it around, but it means that it's still sitting on the flat spot, which makes this easier because you don't want to be attaching it if it's wrong. Now, the 16 millimeters. So you're looking at basically the distance between the end of the pinion and the motor base is going to be 1.6 centimeters. So if you look at this, we need to be at 1.6 centimeters roughly. So put that further in. That is going to be the 1.6. I am going to tighten this up a bit. Make sure I've got that lined up. And I'm screwing it down enough that this is actually tight, but I haven't over tightened yet. So if we look at the 1.6, there's the 1.6. 1.56. So you can see that it is in line with the end of the ruler. It's at the 1.6 with the base of the motor. So we know that we can tighten this down now. So if I grab our Allen key, this is when I really tighten it. And with this, I really tighten it. Like I don't let anything feel loose. So there we go. So there is our pinion gear on the motor now. So now what we're going to need to do is grease this up and then be able to put the motor plate on and then use our remaining 2 screws here to attach it to the gearbox. So before you grease it, there is one other thing that you can do just out of curiosity, is if you take your motor and put it in, you can actually see that the pinion and the gear inside is meshing correctly. So you know that it's in the right position. So we've done the 1.6, but visually you can see that the pinion is meshing with that gear perfectly. So we can now grease this up, which we will. So let's put some more grease on this pinion. That's good right there. Like I said, I kind of like to be a little bit liberal with this stuff. So then you can see that based on the holes, we've got 3 holes here on the motor, but you're obviously only going to be using 2 of them, and you're going to be wanting to use the ones that cross from each other. Now, I'm going to see if I look at this, how do I want to do it? I could either attach it that way, up and down, or I could attach it this way. And I think I'm going to go with this way. So let's put this in. And we're going to grab our motor plate. Stick the first screw through there. First screw through the top. And you can see that it's going to attach to the motor right on that hole right there. and I'll start screwing it in. Now, I'm not going all the way because I want to make sure that the other screw is going to go in and fit nicely into the motor as well. So let's see that this is lined up, which it has. Okay, so now that they're both in, I will screw this in all the way. So there you go. There is our motor attached to the gearbox, and we've attached the two pieces that are going to be used for our rear shocks later on in a later step. So step 3 is complete. So now we can move on to step 4, which is attaching the damper mounts.